When the human delegation stepped into the grand hall of the Lythari Empire, the entire chamber fell silent. Towering spires of silver stone rose above them, glowing with soft blue lights. And dozens of alien nobles turned their eyes toward the small group of humans who had traveled farther than any human in history. Ethan Hale walked at the front, his steps steady, his breath slow, and his heart calm, even though he felt everyone watching him. He had been chosen not because he was the strongest or the smartest, but because he stayed calm when others panicked, and because he treated every species with fairness and respect, but even he was not ready for what? It at the center of the hall. The alien princess of Litho Princess, Sarlina, stood, surrounded by guards who looked like tall armored birds. Her dark blue skin shimmered like polished stone, and faint silver markings on her cheeks caught the light with every small movement. Her eyes, bright and glowing softly like stars trapped in crystal, landed on Ethan, and for a moment she didn't seem to breathe. Her long hair, the color of deep night, floated gently as if the air around her was lighter. Ethan slowed. He could feel hundreds of eyes on him, but the princess's gaze was the only one that truly held him. He tried to offer a calm smile, but she only stared, her fingers tightening around the shimmering cloak draped over her shoulders. A royal advisor stepped forward and announced that, as part of the new peace tradition, the human representative and the Lythari heir would greet each other with a ritual handshake. Ethan nodded, stepped forward, and extended his hand. Sarlina hesitated. Her guards shifted, unsure if they should interfere. Her eyes darted briefly to them, then back to Ethan. He spoke softly. "It's all right. Just a simple greeting." His voice carried no force, only patience. Slowly, very slowly, she raised her hand. Her fingers were long, smooth, and faintly luminous. As they touched his skin, something in her posture changed. Her hand tightened gently around his, and Ethan felt a small tremor run through her fingers. It wasn't fear. It was too soft, too controlled, too strange. Then she trembled again, stronger this time. Ethan blinked. She was shaking. Her delicate features remained composed, but her hand trembled inside his, as if a sudden shock had entered her body. A ripple ran through her shoulders, and her glowing eyes widened slightly. It's almost like she had seen something she couldn't explain. He leaned forward just a little and whispered, "Are you okay?" She didn't answer. Instead, she inhaled sharply, as if her breath had caught. Her luminous skin flickered for half a second. Like moonlight disturbed by a passing cloud, the hall erupted with whispers. Her guards suddenly tensed, their wings shifting in alarm. Several nobles murmured to one another, and Ethan could hear fragments: unusual, impossible, the prophecy, the human effect, but none of it made sense to him. Princess Sarlina quickly withdrew her hand, hiding it behind her cloak. Her breathing grew uneven, though she tried to control it. She kept her eyes on Ethan as if she was expecting something from him, but she seemed too stunned to speak. Ethan took a small step back, keeping his voice gentle. I didn't hurt you, right?" "No," she whispered softly, almost too quiet for anyone else to hear. Her voice was calm but shaken. "You did nothing wrong." But if he did nothing wrong, then why was she trembling? Why did she look at him as if some impossible truth had struck her? Before he could ask, a deep voice echoed across the hall. The Emperor of Lithar rose from his throne, tall, powerful, and carrying the calm weight of someone who had ruled for centuries. His glowing eyes locked onto his daughter, then shifted to Ethan. "That will be enough for today," the Emperor said. His voice was steady, but there was tension beneath it. The guards immediately closed ranks around the princess. She clenched her cloak with trembling hands and lowered her head as if fighting something inside her. Ethan felt a strange unease growing in his chest. She was clearly hiding something important, but he couldn't imagine what it might be. The ceremony ended early. The nobles filed out quickly, whispering and glancing back at the princess and the human who had caused such an unexpected reaction. The human delegation was guided to their quarters, but Ethan kept glancing toward the door, hoping he might get a chance to speak with Sarlina again. Hours passed. Ethan paced inside his assigned room, unable to shake the memory of her trembling hand. He replayed the moment again, and again, her eyes widening, her breath catching, the shimmer on her skin flickering. Something had happened. Something she did not want to show in front of her people. A faint knock came at the door. Ethan opened it to find one of the princess's guards standing there. The guard's feathered armor shined in the torch-like lights of the corridor, and his glowing eyes were unreadable. "Human Ethan Hale," the guard said in a firm voice. "The princess requests a private meeting." Immediately, Ethan felt surprised but relieved. "Is she all right? Earlier that is not for me to say, but she insists on seeing you." He followed the guard through long corridors of silver stone and floating lights. The palace was vast and silent, each step echoing softly. They finally reached a small room with an arched door. The guard bowed once and stepped aside. Ethan entered. Princess Seralini stood alone, facing a large window that opened to the glowing city. Her shoulders were tense, her head slightly bowed. When she turned, Ethan saw something he hadn't expected. Her eyes looked softer, more vulnerable, as if she had been wrestling with a truth she didn't know how to face. "Thank you for coming," she said quietly. Ethan approached slowly. "Are you feeling better now?" "Don't know," she whispered. "In all my life, I have never reacted that way to anyone." He frowned. "I didn't do anything unusual. I just shook your hand, yes, and that is exactly the problem." She stepped closer, her silver markings glowing faintly. "Our people do not tremble from touch. It is not part of our biology. But when your hand touched mine, I felt something powerful. Something I cannot explain." Soft glow spread across her skin. She tightened her fingers around her cloak again. Ethan spoke gently. "Maybe it was nerves? Maybe it was just stress from the ceremony." She shook her head. "No, this was something else, something deeper. It felt like my body recognized something yours carried." "Like what?" Her voice dropped to a soft whisper. "Like a bond. A bond that should not be possible between our species." He stared at her, stunned. "A bond just from a handshake?" "For my kind," she said slowly, "such trembling means one thing. A reaction we experience only once in our lives. A reaction to the one being whose presence affects us beyond logic or control." He felt a chill run through him. "You mean—" She lowered her eyes. "I trembled because my body believes you are that person." Ethan swallowed hard. "But I'm human, and we barely met."
Yes.
She whispered, "And that is why I'm afraid." Silence filled the room. The city lights outside flickered gently across her skin, revealing the emotion she tried so hard to hide. Ethan could see confusion in her gaze, fear in her trembling fingers. And something else, something she didn't quite understand, but couldn't deny. He took a quiet breath. "Princess, tell me honestly, are you in danger because of this? Because of me?" She hesitated before answering. "If the nobles learn the truth, they will fear it. My father will try to protect me. But others? Others will not accept a bond between a Lotharier and a human. What does this bond mean?" She met his eyes, steady but trembling. "It means you are the one person my soul recognizes. The one person my instincts respond to. A once-in-a-lifetime connection." Ethan felt the weight of her words sink in. He had never believed in fate or destiny. He was just a man chosen for a diplomatic mission. Yet here he was, hearing an alien princess tell him he had somehow become the center of something ancient, powerful, and forbidden. He tried to speak calmly. "I don't want to put you at risk. You did not choose this," she whispered. "And neither did I. But it has already happened." She stepped closer, close enough that he could see the faint glow along her cheekbones. Her trembling had returned not from fear, but something deeper. "Ethan," she said softly, "I do not understand what this means yet, but I need time. And I need you to stay near me so I can learn what this feeling truly is." Ethan nodded slowly. "Then I'll stay." Her breath shook quietly, and she lowered her head in relief. "Thank you," she whispered. Outside, the Silver City glowed brighter. Unaware that its princess had just taken her first step into a future no one expected one tied to a human who did not yet understand the storm waiting for him. Ethan stayed quiet for a long moment, trying to understand the weight of the princess's words. Serenity stood close to him, her fingers trembling again, as if she was fighting something inside herself. She looked like someone who had trained her whole life to stay calm, but now her own body refused to listen. Ethan kept his voice gentle. "Princess, whatever this is, we'll figure it out," he said. She nodded faintly. "I hope so, because what I felt today, it cannot be ignored." Before Ethan could ask what she meant, a soft chime echoed from the hallway. Serenity stiffened. "My father's advisors are looking for me," she whispered. "We must not let them suspect anything yet." Ethan stepped back to give her space. She pulled her cloak around her shoulders and tried to steady her breathing. When she walked toward the door, she paused and looked back at him with a conflicted expression. "Stay close to your room tonight," she murmured. "And thank you for not panicking," gave a small smile. "I don't panic easily." "I know," she said softly, and then she was gone. Ethan returned to his room, but rest did not come easily. His mind kept replaying her trembling hand, her frightened eyes, the quiet honesty in her voice. A bond, a connection that should not happen between their species. He wasn't sure what to think. He barely understood his own feelings, let alone an alien instinct he had never heard of. Hours later, a sudden vibration shook the room. The lights flickered. Ethan jumped to his feet just as a loud voice echoed through the palace corridors. "Security breach. All personnel remain in assigned quarters." Ethan rushed to the door and opened it slightly. Guards ran through the halls, weapons glowing ready. Something serious was happening, before he could ask anyone. A familiar voice whispered urgently from behind him. "Ethan." He turned to see Princess Serenity standing in the shadows of the hall. Her cloak was gone, replaced by a simple dark robe, and her glowing eyes were dimmer than usual. She grabbed his wrist firmly. "You must come with me." Ethan didn't question her. "What's happening?" "A faction inside the palace wants to remove me from the succession," she said quickly. "They saw my reaction earlier, and now they fear what it means. They want to harm you." "Not openly," she whispered. "But they will isolate me, take away my freedom, maybe even force a political bond with someone else. They want control. And you," she looked up at him with a worried expression, "you might be used as evidence against me." Ethan frowned. "So you're saying people think you reacted that way because of some connection?" "Exactly," she said. "And they believe a princess should not form a rare bond with an outsider. Especially not with a human." She pulled him again. Ethan followed as they hurried down a side corridor. The palace lights dimmed behind them as lockdown protocols activated. Serenity moved quickly, but Ethan could tell she was struggling to stay calm. Every few steps, her glowing markings flickered again, showing her inner turmoil. "Where are we going?" Ethan whispered. "To a hidden passage," she said. "A place only the royal family knows." They stopped at a decorative panel. She pressed her hand against it, and the wall slid open silently, revealing a narrow stairway leading downward. She motioned for Ethan to enter first. As the door closed behind them, Serenity leaned against the wall for a moment, her breath uneven. "Are you all right?" Ethan asked softly. She hesitated before nodding. "I am trying to control it, but when you are near, the bond gets stronger." Ethan didn't know what to say, so he simply stayed close but didn't touch her. After a moment, she steadied herself and continued down the stairs. They reached a quiet room carved from smooth stone. It was round, lit by faint blue crystals that glowed like distant stars. Serenity finally relaxed her shoulders. "This is the old sanctuary," she said. "No one can listen or monitor us here." Ethan walked slowly around, looking at the carvings on the wall. They showed ancient Lithari figures touching hands, surrounded by light. "What do these mean?" he asked. Serenity stepped beside him. "It is said that long ago, Lithari could sense their true partner through a single touch, but the ability faded through the generations. Most believed it was only a myth. Do you think that's what happened today?" Her eyes lowered. "I felt something I have never felt with anyone in my life. And I don't know if it is destiny, instinct, or something else entirely. But whoever learns of it will try to decide my fate for me. She took a small step closer. I do not want them to decide for me. Ethan's voice softened. Then what do you want to do, Serelini? For a moment, the trembling returned, but she managed a steady breath. I want to understand what this connection truly is. And I want to do that with you, not with the fear and pressure of the court watching. Outside, alarms still echoed faintly in the distance, but inside the sanctuary, only their quiet breaths filled the room. Ethan nodded slowly. Then I'll stay with you, no matter what happens. Her eyes lifted, glowing softly. Thank you, Ethan. For the first time since the ceremony, she looked calm, not because the danger was gone, but because she was no longer facing it alone. The sanctuary walls glowed with soft blue light as Ethan and Serelini stood together, trying to make sense of everything that had happened. The alarms above them had stopped, but a deep unease still hung in the air like a silent warning. Ethan could tell that Serelini was listening carefully, her glowing eyes half closed, her breathing slower now. She was trying to sense any danger through the vibrations in the palace, something her species was naturally gifted at. We are safe for the moment, she whispered finally. Ethan nodded. Though he knew safety was something that could vanish quickly in a place as tense as this palace, do you think they'll come searching down here? Not at first, she said softly. This sanctuary was built for times of spiritual retreat, not politics. Only the royal family knows every entrance. Even the council has forgotten most of them. Ethan walked closer to one of the carvings on the wall. The figures depicted there stood in pairs, their hands linked by a shining glow. It looked almost like two lights merging into one. These carvings, he murmured, they show the same ritual we did in the hall. The handshake. Serelini stepped beside him. Yes, it was once a sacred test of truth. When two hands met, the bond could awaken if the souls were compatible. He looked at her with calm curiosity. And for you? It awakened? She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she gently placed her hand against the carving, tracing the glowing arc connecting the two figures. What I felt was more than an instinct, she said. It was a pull. As if the moment our skin touched, something in me recognized you. And that recognition scared me, because it should not be possible with a human. Ethan listened carefully. He didn't understand alien biology or ancient bonds, but he understood fear. Her fear. I didn't feel anything like that, he said gently. But I saw what it did to you, and I won't ignore it. A faint smile touched her lips. I wasn't expecting you to understand so icily. You didn't tremble like someone embarrassed, he said quietly. You trembled like someone who felt something deep and sudden, and didn't know if it was safe to show. Her eyes softened with a quiet surprise. You read people well, Ethan, shrugged slightly. Humans survive best by watching each other. She released a soft breath. Maybe that is why the bond chose you. Before he could ask what she meant, the sanctuary door suddenly shimmered with faint movement. Serelini reacted instantly, grabbing Ethan's sleeve and pulling him behind one of the stone pillars. Her eyes narrowed sharply. She held her breath and listened. A faint voice echoed from the stairwell above. Search every restricted chamber. The princess is missing. Ethan's heart tensed. They're looking for you already. They moved faster than I expected, she whispered. Soft footsteps descended the stairs. Ethan and Serelini exchanged a quick glance. There was no anger in her eyes, only determination. She held out her hand. Take my hand, she whispered. The sanctuary responds to bloodline. But maybe the bond will let you through too. Ethan took her hand without hesitation. Her skin trembled again at the touch, a faint glow blooming along her markings, but she stayed calm. She pressed her other hand against a carved stone circle on the wall. The stone rippled like water, and a hidden doorway opened behind them. This way, she said. They slipped inside just as the footsteps reached the lower chamber. The stone door sealed behind them silently. Inside the hidden passage, the light was dim, but the air was cooler. The tunnel stretched far into darkness. Ethan could hear water dripping somewhere distant. Serelini led him forward, their joined hands lighting the path with a faint warmth neither fully understood. Where does this lead? Ethan whispered. To an ancient refuge, she replied. A place my ancestors used during times of civil unrest. No one has gone there for years. As they moved deeper, Ethan felt the tension in her grip ease little by little. She wasn't trembling as violently now, only with a faint, steady softness, something she couldn't hide no matter how hard she tried. After several minutes, they reached a chamber lit by natural crystal columns that glowed silver blue. It was peaceful, untouched, and quiet. Cerulean finally exhaled and released his hand, though she hesitated before letting go. "We can rest a moment," she said. Ethan sat on a stone bench watching her. She paced a little, then finally stopped and faced him. "You must think this is all strange," said he, laughed quietly. "I've been through stranger things, but nothing like this." She lowered her gaze. "You are calm even when things are falling apart around you. That is rare among the humans I have met." "Calm doesn't mean I'm not worried," he said. "I just know worrying doesn't fix anything." Her lips curved slightly. "It makes sense why our bond reacted so strongly." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "Tell me what this bond really means. You said it only happens once in your life." She walked closer, her voice quiet and steady. "Yes. For a Lithari, the bond chooses the one person whose presence strengthens us. The one person our instincts trust without reason. It does not force love or loyalty, but it opens the possibility for the strongest connection we can have. And you think I'm the one your bond reacted to?" She looked him in the eyes. "I know you are." Ethan felt his chest tighten a little. Not from fear, more from the weight of her honesty. She wasn't speaking like a princess or a diplomat. She was speaking like someone searching for truth in the middle of chaos. "So what happens now?" he asked quietly. Before she could answer, a sudden vibration shook the chamber. The crystals flickered. Cerulean stiffened. "They found the outer tunnel," she whispered. Ethan stood. "Then we need another exit." She shook her head. "There is none. This refuge was built for hiding, not for escape." Ethan looked around, scanning for anything useful. Then he saw a set of old armor, stand stalls, ceremonial suits once used by ancient guardians. "We can use those," said. Cerulean followed his gaze. "To disguise ourselves?" "No," Ethan said. "To buy time." Footsteps echoed closer and closer. Cerulean's breathing quickened again, not the trembling bond this time, but real fear. "They will capture us," she whispered. "They will take me to the council. They will accuse me of forming an unapproved bond, and they will send you back to Earth in chains." "Not if they don't find us," Ethan said firmly. He walked toward the crystal columns and touched one with his palm. "These crystals, they glow from energy inside them, right?" Cerulean nodded. "Yes, they respond to movement and pressure." "Why?" Ethan gave a small, clever smile. "Then let's make them think we ran in the opposite direction." He broke a small shard from a loose crystal near the floor. Cerulean understood immediately and helped him. Together they scattered small shards across the far corridor, leading away from the true location. Then Ethan pressed his boot into the dust there, making clear tracks. Cerulean watched him with a mixture of surprise and admiration. "You were thinking like a tracker. Humans survived by confusing predators," Ethan said quietly. "Your council guards are just another kind of hunter." They moved back into the chamber and hid behind a stone curtain formation. Just as the guards stormed in, their glowing weapons lit the room. One guard crouched and examined the shard trail. "This way," he said, pointing toward the false trail. Within seconds, the guards rushed into the wrong tunnel. Leaving the chamber empty again, Cerulean stayed silent for several seconds, her eyes wide. When she finally looked at Ethan, her expression was full of relief and something deeper. "You saved us," she whispered. He shrugged gently. "You got me into the sanctuary. I'm just returning the favor." This time her trembling was softer. Not from fear, but from something growing inside her: trust, comfort, and a connection she no longer tried to suppress. "We cannot stay here forever," she said. "But we have time now." "Time to plan our next move?" Ethan nodded. "And we make that plan together." Cerulean stepped closer, her voice soft as starlight. Together, she agreed, but Neither of them knew that in the shadows of the palace above, someone had already discovered the truth about the princess's bondand, that person was preparing to use it against them both.